What is your why? Do you want dynamic growth? Do you feel stuck? It's time to fix your why.
Hello, my friends. You are joining me here today on the Fix Your Why podcast. I'm Billy Ryan, here today with Kristen Dearing, who has spent 25 years creating and delivering innovative and successful sales and marketing campaigns. Thanks for joining today.
Of course, I'm delighted to be here. Thanks for having me.
We have a lot to talk about.
Okay.
Let's spend a little bit of time on that successful career in marketing and sales, and then we'll shift slightly.
Okay.
So,
great.
yeah.
Yes, I started my career at Accenture as a consultant, really learned how to be a business professional there, but knew I wanted to have a career that was something of my own before I had children, so I could choose whether I wanted to keep working or stay home, something that really felt like it was branded as me. So I found a career at Sun Microsystems, which at the time when I went to work at Sun, they literally said, we're a bunch of old guys, you're a young girl without any sales training, how are you going to come on board here? But the moons and stars aligned, and I started a career and really grew at Sun during the dot-com phase, all the exciting phase. We did so many incredible things with technology there. I loved it. Company got acquired by Oracle. Then I felt like I'd seen and delivered so much through the good times and the bad through this high-tech world that I wanted to find a company where I could do this on my own and really help rebrand a company. And I was fortunate to find a company here locally called Briarlane Partners, and they had a great reputation, but really needed to be taken onto the global stage. So I helped rebrand, really helped market differentiate who they are, and set them up to be the really recognized through analysts as the global loyalty provider, the top one around the globe. So it was really fascinating, exciting, and we had lots of fun, really good people along the way doing it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And today,
yeah. So today,
what are you doing today?
Today, life brought me a pause. Just as I was in the heat of that, I was in London on a business trip, and I got a text from my daughter that she was in a lot of pain, and it started a 4-year journey now that we've been on. I had to go to Mayo Clinic, seen hundreds of specialists, and I had to pause working to take care of her. There were days I didn't think I'd get her through high school. We had to homeschool and really just work so hard. It was really dark days. Whenever Mayo Clinic can't solve your child's pain, and I couldn't figure out a way to get out of it. I had Mayo Clinic after our visit call me to say that they thought that my daughter was potentially suicidal. And I asked what to do about that, and they told me to call 911. And I was like, wow, that's the help. So really felt out on my own, a lot of dark days, then coupled with COVID in the middle of that. So I am very happy to say that I've gotten her to a much better place after doing tons of hours of research, both leveraging traditional medicine, functional medicine, and just hours and hours of try and fail operations. So she's finally in a place where she is much better. She's at SMU. She's thriving academically. She still hurts, unfortunately, every day, but she's functioning in a much better way at this point. So I now, while I was working on her, kind of lost myself through that process, right? I've always been a lot of energy and a smiling, engaging person, and it was difficult days, I'm not going to lie. So I'm now finally getting myself back. So I'm now in the process of getting myself realigned so I can find what I want to do next. I can find that next great company that I can help rebrand and repurpose and launch and put themselves where they want to be to grow their sales.
So let's shift there. And I appreciate you sharing your story about your daughter. I mean, that had to be awful. That was a good reason to put your career on hold. So now you're reinventing yourself. And that word reinventing, I feel, it has some negative connotations, and it shouldn't. Nowhere does it say we all need to choose one industry and stay in that industry throughout our career. We should be allowed to change, to follow, different passions that we might have.
I call it not being an indentured servant.
Yeah.
Right.
So what I want to shift the focus for anyone that's out here listening right now, where reinventing yourself isn't because you're ashamed of maybe a gap in your resume, but
Right.
reinventing yourself because of the season that you're in.
Right.
So it's really you taking charge of your life and making choices about what you think you deserve and what can be better in your life. So tell us a little bit about, I mean, you have great energy, you're a very positive person, but I imagine there's been some frustration and challenge along the way.
Absolutely. My first step was I called a local headhunter. I asked to meet with him in person and spend some time with him, but he's brought me opportunities that were basic sales jobs of what I was doing really in 1998. One of the people asked me, when was the last time you were an individual contributor or salesperson? And that's a long time ago, right? While it's the core capabilities, and if that's what I need to do to get back in the market, then I need to make a living for my family, and I will certainly do it. But it's not really aligned with who I am and who I am today and the real power of what I could bring a company. I got through several interviews with one company, and a senior lady sat me down and said, if we were friends, we would have a glass of wine and I would say, what are you doing? Like, you can do so much more. Quit, stop following these people's advice and go do what your gut really knows that you can do, because it's so much more powerful. So I paused what I call the man plan and went on to the God plan, which was really trusting God. It's how you and I met. Sarah, I'm here today. I met the fabulous Michelle Robinson and attended her Shine Like a Boss event, which was extraordinary, and met so many incredible people through it. And I'm really just following day in, day out what God is putting in front of me, and hoping that that's my job search strategy at the moment.
That's great. Your the fix your why challenge is pretty obvious,
Yes.
right? But it's not so much your why that has to get fixed. It's the system that we operate in, right? And this is true for so many people that, there's again, the status quo. In my book, my story of my life and the growth that I achieved was all about changing the status quo. And when you set out to change the status quo, there are a lot of people that get threatened by that.
Right.
So in your challenge, your Fix the Why challenge, you're not so much having to change the way you think about who you are. In fact, you're holding strong to who you are. You have value.
Yes.
But you're operating in a system that measures your value by the resume.
Right.
And so they see the gap and they think, oh, okay, what's going on? So many people that I interact with are people that made choices to be stay-at-home moms.
Right.
And they talk about it as if they have to apologize for that choice. And we have to, we can't allow that to happen in our culture where that is some kind of a black mark that someone, has on their resume. So you have such a rich and deep experience level at Sun and then at the follow-on company that I know would be an incredible value to an employer. So the question is, how do you overcome the status quo?
I don't know, Bill. Tell me. Teach me. Show me. Some of what I've started doing is finding things that I believe in. So whenever I'm reinventing, you're right. I've been really aligned around my why, but building my own confidence, because as you said, there's nothing to apologize for, right? And whether it's someone being a stay-at-home mom, someone having a life event that takes them out of the day-to-day, I know that I did the right thing, that was what God wanted me to do. So there shouldn't be no apology. It should be a level of confidence. So as I was trying to say, I've started getting involved in things that I believe in. Like I've found an organization called Women Fighting for America, and I'm trying to help them with my natural talents. So it's helping remind me, hey, I can do this. There are major things that I can do. I can really bring immediate value to a company to hopefully help me get back in and find that financially funded company that can help me.
I think that's great advice to a lot of people. Rather than sit around and be frustrated
Right.
by the challenges, because the challenges, look, we all understand why you're facing the challenges that you're facing.
Right.
And I can find reasons why I disagree with that.
Right.
I think the status quo does need to change. But now you've made choices to actively contribute.
Right.
And I love the word contribute.
Uh-huh.
And so, I really applaud the choices that you're making, the activity that you're choosing. Is that part of how you met Michelle?
Yes,
how did you end up
yes.
at, yeah.
Well, so yes, it is. So through this organization, I had only met one of the key players over text message. I met the woman that leads the organization, Christy Hutcherson, and said, hey, I'm so impressed. I'd love to, any way I can help you, I'd love to help you. And I gave her some of the ways, and she said, great, connected me with her person, Julie. Julie and I meet over text. She says, oh, you're in Dallas. Oh, do you know Michelle Robinson? Do you know? She named off a couple people, and she said, well, you need to. She said, actually, Michelle's having an event this week. You need to go. She said, I'd be there, but I can't. I said, okay, that sounds fabulous. I was supposed to be out of town. I said, I'll delay my trip. I trust you. I'm not really sure why. Again, we didn't have this deep relationship, but I just knew instinctually this is where I should be. I walked into Michelle's event, not knowing what to expect. There are these gorgeous women singing, all bedazzled, singing Jesus songs, all these powerful women. I was immediately overtaken. It was just really, and then all these business women talking about their life purpose and the challenges that they've faced and how they've overcome it. So surrounding myself with others that are not just the square peg in the square peg like a lot of the workforce looks at. Was surrounding myself with women that have come over adversity and really used it as a platform of strength instead of carrying it as something negative. Really turning that tragedy into good. It's helping me.
Well, I've had the good fortune in this podcast to interview a lot of people that they just don't take no for an answer. They plow through the walls and the hurdles that are in front of them.
Uh-huh.
You know as well as anybody, the larger the company, the more the hiring process is driven by an algorithm, not by a person.
Exactly.
So when you can establish relationships with companies, maybe they're startups, maybe they're more closely held organizations.
Right.
I have found that the leaders of those companies are interested in the people that they interview, not the resume.
Right.
And it's interesting because years ago, I know when I was running a large organization and hiring people, sure, the resume had to check a couple boxes, but I wanted to know what somebody's passion was, what their, if I was interested in exceeding my customers' expectations, I had to find somebody who cared about people and would go that extra mile for somebody. So that, there's no formula there for you, no explicit answer, but the larger companies are not going to be the easiest. However, given your background with Sun Microsystems and companies that were incredibly successful in large companies, you probably have colleagues there that you can lean on, just push on that status quo a little bit. And, as you know, a lot of people spin out of those big companies to start their own companies. So through the conversation, you might find some opportunities.
Yes, I need to find those people that can understand the chutzpah that it took to
Right.
go through the challenges I've gone through of being a single mother and prioritizing my daughter and creating a great life for her while still being able to contribute. But it takes a unique person to understand and find that the people willing to make mistakes, the people willing to stand up for what they believe in. It's unfortunately a bit rare today,
Yeah.
but it is. But those people do exist.
They
right?
absolutely do.
Yes.
Well, I want to thank you
Oh,
again
thank you.
for participating in the podcast and sharing your story, and being willing to be vulnerable
Yes.
with this audience.
Yes,
So
I
thank
appreciate
you.
it. No, thank you.
And thank you all for joining us today on the Fix Your Why podcast. Hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.